Hi, this is Elizabeth Hancock, host of the Great Awakening podcast. And today I thought I would upload a little mini conversation that I was having with Charles Formosa, who is going to be coming on the Tartarian conference on Saturday. And we had a really fascinating conversation. And halfway through it, he said, "Oh, we should be recording this." So I pressed record and we just sort of got whatever we got coming through. But it was just such a fascinating conversation. I just wanted to share it on here. So he, of course, will be one of our guest speakers in the Tartaria conference, which is going to be live streaming on my YouTube channel, 9 a.m. on the 14th of June on Saturday. And it's going to be going on for about 10 hours. We've got 9 speakers, including myself, and it's going to be fascinating. We're going to be looking at who the Tartarians were, where they lived, what their culture was like. Is it a real empire or is it a made up one? And then we'll be also looking at the old world as well, the old world technologies, the free energy, the travel types of technologies, the airships, all these sorts of things. It's just a fascinating area. And I'm sure that by the end of the conference, you will have had so many of your questions answered. Okay, so I'm going to put on the video, the conversation between myself and Charles, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, look forward to catching up with you next week. All right, take care. Bye.
Maybe the whole freckle thing, which happens usually around the eyes, right? That the freckles are just that remnant of that melanin, which was originally covering the whole body. So freckles are essentially remains of the previous adaptational appearance of a person.
Yeah.
So the remnants of your black ancestry are the freckles. Could we go that far? Would that be too much?
Yeah, I mean, we've been genetically altered so many times, and they call this quantum mutation, but is it really quantum mutation? I mean, are we being genetically altered, engineered, which is what many people believe? But I've also been researching the field of wave genetics, and our DNA changes all the time based on our emotions and our words, sound. This entire reality is created by sound, and we are literally shaping reality. Human consciousness, our thoughts, our sounds, our words, it's creating reality all the time. This is what we call magic.
I think to some extent it's also tribalism, like, because I think as humans we have this incredible strength in small numbers, but an incredible weakness once we get to these larger city states, where we almost like target or weed out any rare genetic trait. It could be linked to a survival instinct, but it could also be the reason why giants have disappeared, simply because they've been weeded out. I mean, even in the 1800s, there were like these like novelty fairs and circuses, right, where you would look at people that looked unusual, but then those people would find it hard to fit into society. Giants would no longer live amongst us, as it were. They would slowly get sort of weeded out, essentially. They wouldn't find a mate, they wouldn't find a job, they wouldn't find employment. And the same with like tiny people. Now we obviously view everything as some kind of genetic disorder, but it's actually just an echo of the past. And that's why we don't have giants. We've kind of ruined that for ourselves. So you get this average everything, average man, average height, average, and if you're a little bit off, or your face is a little bit too big, or your jawbone's a little bit too large, or your femur's too long, or then it becomes hard. You become like a novelty thing. And I think life becomes hard. I mean, how many actors do you see in Hollywood that are, like, I mean, we even call it dwarfism as some kind of illness, but that's such a low frequency way to look at the world. I think that we had giants, Lilliputians, or whatever,
We're all
and
sorts of things. I've been researching about the
yeah.
Blemmies, having a face on their chest.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't have a neck, you got to go to the doctor. Is that
it
really
sounds
fair?
like
Yeah.
science fiction, like how on earth can anyone not have a head? How can you not have a brain? I mean, but I really think that, yeah, our human consciousness, I think, has been so hijacked. And, once you understand how it works, you realize how it can be interfered with. And this is dark magic, but it's no more than just understanding how the holographic field works and how, energy fields work. And, there are people in our world who've probably been around. They're probably survivors from the last reset. They've probably been around for a very, very long time. They know how reality works, and they've sort of hijacked our human consciousness. And I think they're creating all these programs and beliefs and infighting. They're the ones that decide that this is a disorder. They're the ones that just, they start, printing magazines around, like using subtle language to sort of, to make the giants sound like bad people, or to make the dwarfs, sound like they've got some sort of disorder. You can see it now with the Guardian newspaper, with all the newspapers. They're so subtle with their language, but the way that they write it in such a way, it's called word magic. Yeah, so these are the tribes. Now, these are the ones that they talk about, how they basically interbred with the gods. And the gods are talked about as being these very tall, advanced people who they interbred with these.
Do you know what they're called as well? Do you know what they're called? Melanesians.
Oh, yes, of course. Melanin, as you said.
Melanin, yeah.
Yes, that's
so yeah, natural black blondes, Melanesians. It's so descriptive, almost like clinical. Yeah, Solomon Islands. Yeah,
the Solomon Islands, and the Solomon Islands. The Solomon Islands, they still have giants. They live underneath the earth. They still.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way I suppose you can really survive. Unfortunately, I mean, I think some U.S. Paratroopers ran into some giants in Iran.
Yes, redhead,
Iraq, Syria, and the description was straight out of these kind of theories. But I mean, it's not common knowledge. I don't think. I mean, we used to actually at school, if you had red hair, you used to get teased for that. There's a lot of slang in the language. I'll tell you one thing, as far as I'm concerned, Elizabeth, every time I see science getting involved, it is always misdirection. There's never been a situation where scientific theories have somehow helped. They're always completely useless. Like when it comes to this whole Melanesian population, right? The theories are just ridiculous. It's something like, they had a high fish intake in their diet, or, there's a lot of sunshine. What are you talking about? Like literally the hottest climates on earth have people living in them that have black skin, like even like Asia, people have black skin. That's an adaptation to the sun. It's their hair doesn't go blonde. So we are being disrespected, I think, sometimes with these theories. And I mean, it's so rare that any scientific study has come up with something that's actually informative or helpful. I think the whole world was taken over by these red-haired giants, and I think that there's some other lineages that are almost like in control, maybe Luciferian sects and things that hate that. They hate when somebody comes to truth through God, or because it's the opposite. It's kind of light and darkness, right? It's undermining everything that they've probably been, worshiping for generations. So yes, to destroy something like that, something that's almost like gifted or chosen by God, anything like that is going to make people angry. You're going to get misinformation, and I think that's really what's going on. I really think sometimes it's a religious indoctrination that we're suffering from, and even today I don't think we can see it sometimes. And how can we open our eyes to actually comprehend that everything around us is directed against a certain race or a certain lineage, and that maybe those are the chosen people and they're being persecuted? And because even when you look at language, like all the time we say things like the Dark Lord, or the Dark Ages, and the Black Death, and it's on a very superficial level. We are constantly telling ourselves that dark is bad, and that's like evil and negative. I mean, we even say it to ourselves every day in our language. We say all kinds of things that has deeper meaning attached to it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that there are two groups of people who are trying to annihilate each other. The rest of us have just got caught up, in it. And I think these groups of people have probably been around here for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah. I mean, there are creatures on Earth that I don't think we're ready. We're not ready to see everything. Yeah. But I think we're slowly getting there. Yeah. So I think that's why these theories are important.
Just looking at the old world, every time I see more and more, I'm just astounded. I'm just absolutely astounded. It's like it's all been there in plain sight, and yet I haven't seen any of it. It's just incredible. I mean, where are all these images and photos coming from? How are people finding them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is this kind of breadcrumb situation that I think is happening, because it's happened so many times to me where I've worked something out, I've started talking about it. These are just my own theories that nobody's heard about. And within a few weeks, sometimes even a few days, there are a lot of people talking about that thing. Almost like, so I mean, there's two theories. One is that people are watching what you're doing, but not really commenting or letting their presence be known. And then they're saying, okay, so human beings have worked this out. So let's just pretend that it's not a big deal, and we start having other people, because they've always got someone ready in the background who's probably got a higher viewership, more followers, and who can then probably has a team of video editing professionals, and then I do find that happening a lot. And now that I know, pretty much can presume that that's going to happen with this conference, as soon as we do this, there's going to be multiple other conferences on Tartaria. Even for us to get to the point where there's a conference, there must have already been years of people making a lot of sense, finding a lot of information themselves, because not everything's online. I don't think even 10% of the things out there are online yet, because for them to be online, it's got to have happened in the last 15, 20 years, right? And someone has to take a photo. They have to put it somewhere where people can see it. It's got to be on some kind of archive. Most people don't even know how to access archives. Yeah. So I mean, that's something that's got to happen. And I mean, I took pictures from an old book from my grandmother, and like, I'm pretty sure those images have never been online. But yes, sooner or later, someone enhances them, upscales them, changes the contrast, tries to put them online, which is fine, because I do exactly the same thing. But but um but definitely, as we become more conscious, as real people within a dialogue who have theories and who think about stuff and who remember things, when most of us haven't woken up yet. I mean, I think it's quite easy sometimes. You just have to change the way you live, because wherever energy flows, that's where attention goes, or wherever attention goes, energy flows. Anyway, so if we're talking about that area, this word is coming out there. AI is picking up on it. AI is going to start using it. It's not going to be a spelling error anymore soon. Just like with Wikipedia, I told everyone it's not on Wikipedia soon. It's going to be on Wikipedia. The information might be misdirection, but at least it's there. At least people understand that there is a theory, that we are looking at old maps, that we are able to fight this ancient AI, which has been around for hundreds of years. Everything we're doing is controlled by AI. This telepathy that we're doing right now, you're in one country, I'm in another country, that we're doing through these microchips are not human-made things. This is ancient technology. You can find QR codes in temples in Mesopotamia. You can find. I mean, I think they found like an old Nokia phone in some old South American pyramid. And all of this has happened before. How many times do we have to keep going around before we realize that that if we don't search for truth, it's not gonna be good for us? If you have something important to do, it will recalibrate everything about you. All of that damage from like electromagnetic wave, none of that's gonna affect you, because it's all connected. Sound, color. That's what Tartaria teaches you. Sound is connected to color, is matter. It's connected to what you touch, what the information you get from everything you do. And if you keep looking at pictures of old buildings, then that geometry within those buildings, hidden from ancient civilizations that we don't really understand, it's going to come into your head. Instead of walking past, you're going to look at the symbolism. There are people who don't want you to do that. There are people who just want you to be this working drone. And I think it's good for all humanity. If we all start realizing that all of this amazing stuff that everyone's doing is actually fake. It's all movies and special effects, almost everything. Then you start to realize that you have your own invisible, body member electronic field. Then you start to realize electricity is actually what you're doing here. You're creating electricity, and that's why they want you in those cities, so they can harness your electricity, and all the dominoes start falling. Yeah, you start realizing what chi is, you start realizing what ether is, So
and the light body.
If there is another type of melanin, and these obviously redhead Caucasians have another type of melanin, that means we do not have to worry about that, Black people have higher levels of melanin because we have a completely different type of melanin. So maybe we are not all related in such a simple way. Maybe it's far more complicated.
Yeah.
Which is a real awakening thing that I've only just really
Many.
thought about right now as I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
Which is
many. We are many, many, many different bloodlines. We are not one species. Wherever these species came from, I don't know, but we are many different bloodlines. Red hair used to be very, very prominent. A few hundred years ago, red hair was was considered to be amazing and prominent, and all the royal families had it. And then somewhere around 500 years ago, it changed. And they suddenly started to demonize it.
So maybe the royalty doesn't want other people to have red hair. That's why they're alienating.
I think royalty used to be good. And I think that they got turned at some point, just like, the Jesuits, the Knights Templar, the secret societies, they all got turned at some point. And the question is, what keeps...
So who's infiltrating these people? Could we say maybe demonic entities?
Yes. And that's the archons in the Nag Hammadi text, which,
so humans get together, create something beautiful, like the Tower of Babel, then the archons.
Yeah, and they infiltrate. And I don't know how they get in, but I think that I think possibly some people are just easily corruptible.
Okay, through money, maybe the financial thing, fame.
Yeah, the whole money system is black magic. And
that's what the whole dollar sign with the ISIS and the snake and the tree. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that this is shifting now as well. I really feel a big shift in energy. And I think that what we're going through now is a natural spiritual evolution, which is a natural evolution. We talked about in all the indigenous tribes, everything is changing. And because we are the creator beings, human consciousness is creating all of this. And I think that all they can do is just keep interfering, getting us to fight each other, coming up with this theory and that theory. And it's just constantly, chemtrailing and all this stuff, constantly trying to just keep our vibration down all the time. And actually, I think this is what reality is. It's this constant spiral of energy waves, just sort of spiraling up and up and up. And to me, that looks like the old world, those massively uplifting buildings. I mean, did anyone even build those, or were they just created?
Imagine, this is something I was thinking about yesterday. Imagine what we still have. We still have these incredible buildings, this great geometry, right? These perfect facades. Imagine what we had that they've destroyed. Like if you look at all these negatives and this, the sky's been kind of vanillaed out, kind of cut out. Imagine what there was. If that's what they left us and we are impressed by it, right? It's still really dangerous stuff, rose windows, sound frequencies, right? And every city has a church. Okay, there's either the theory that they already destroyed like 99%, which was incredible buildings with portals going all over the place, like gold and covered, pyramids and cathedrals far beyond anything we can even think of. It's either that or they can't destroy them because the frequency is just in itself a protective kind of shield. Because that also sounds pretty true. But then why remove airships? You see, that's something else. I can't solve that issue in my head. Like, why remove airships?
Because they couldn't profit from them.
People had their own airship hangars, their own mooring stations on their buildings. Something like that. I'm thinking maybe traveling. If we travel, maybe it gives us too much information if we start bumping into the ice wall all the time. Maybe we start to realize we're in this enclosed thing. Not that I'm a flat earther.
But there's definitely more to this Earth. It's bigger than what we have been led to believe. Whether this is beyond an ice wall, or whether it's like different like worlds, all over this sort of big Earth. I don't know. I think the thing is that reality is far more different to what we've been taught and led to believe. And we are now beginning to find this out, and they are busy trying to stop us at every single point.
But how powerful must we be if we reached our real true potential? Because to do all of that, how much work? You're basically like spending your entire existence on Earth just stopping humans realizing how powerful they are.
Yeah, no,
and I think, and I hope that kind of message comes out of our conference, that people end up saying, damn, what could I do? Like maybe all these superhero stories are also a misdirection designed to make us feel like idiots for trying these things.
Well, we definitely, I mean, there's that link between the optic nerve and the pineal gland, showing that the eyes, used to be connected to the pineal gland, so what abilities we have just from that alone.
The eyes are not separate organs. The eyes are part of your brain. It's a part. Your eye is part of your brain. It's not a separate. I mean, that's all misinformation. Just like the heart is not pumping blood. It's an electromagnetic coil.
Yes, it is.
And oxygen is not being pumped through the blood. There's another theory that it's electricity, that we're not breathing oxygen. That whole thing about trees creating oxygen. We're in an enclosed area. We're not breathing oxygen. Oxygen is just part of our makeup: oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon. Enoch, the book of Enoch, which was removed from the Bible. It's another one of those things. Hard to find that book, though. It's very hard to find the pages. I only have a few. It's more than 10. Yeah. I mean, there's the book of a book of giants as well, which is interesting. Although that doesn't really deal with giants, interestingly enough. That deals more with the end of the world.
And I think that's why we can only see a 3D world now. This world's actually 5D, so much of it is actually hidden. And in 3D, we probably don't even need to eat because we're more energy, less matter. So that explains so much.
I mean, there's a lot of proof that humans didn't used to have to eat or use bathrooms or any of that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think we were a 5D species. And I think that's where the concept of angels comes in as well. So angel, the definition of angel is a light being. We're not physical beings. So if we're made of light, then why are we all eating? Why are we killing animals and eating them? Well, I don't believe that we have to. I think these are, again, just beliefs and programs that have just been put in.
I think it's the type, I think eating meat, even though I do eat meat, I'm not a vegetarian yet, but it is a type of death cult magic when you're eating animals. And like in the Bible, not until like the New Testament, I don't think they're talking about these killing the fattened young bull. There's a lot of reference to that, but that could be also a mistranslation of something else.
Or metaphor.
Making a sacrifice because somebody's coming to visit you, so you give them your food. It's just sharing. It doesn't necessarily mean you're sacrificing as in burning an offering, which is, I think, could be a mistranslation. But then, I mean, it's only really the first 2 or 3 books of the Bible that you can really, 100% kind of trust sometimes, because King James did a hell of a job adding things and taking things away.
Yeah.
But there were 88 books of the Bible. The way that I can prove that is because the original harpsichord had 88 notes, and each note referred to one of the books. You get 88 keys on a piano as well. And I think the number 88 is incredibly crucial. In fact, numerology, generally speaking, I think is one of the key ways to decipher anything in language, because Hebrew is mathematics. English is just Hebrew backwards using star signs as the key.
Is it? Right. Because I'm reading a book at the moment on word magic, and it's saying that essentially English is the language of the angels. And so angels are Anglo-Saxons, that's...
Well, Engel this is where my German background comes in useful, because Engel is angels. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the language of the angels, so what were we when we were angels? We were 5D. We were living in a 5D world when we were angels. We've got Los Angeles, the city of the angels. There's these angels references all over the place. It also links in with that religious concept that you said, that, it's still religious fight.
I think we are still angels. This is my own theory. I think we are still angels. I think our skull is not to be viewed as a musical instrument. We need to look at our bones as being a manifestation of that perfect sound, the word of God. So the skull is a musical instrument that can produce the necessary sound to do everything, to manifest things, to move through time, to manipulate reality. I think sound is almost like a type of telepathic communication, sound waves. Now, you can get distortions of those sound waves, but it's well known, well documented, that if you train your voice, you can accomplish all kinds of things. You can break through all kinds of matter. Again, you see this only really in superhero movies, so everyone thinks, oh, it's not possible. Which is funny how the human brain does that to itself. It trips itself up. But sopranos are well known for breaking glass. It's not really that far from a pretty realistic idea to have. But I think there's so much more we can do with our voice. And I think our voice, and I think every religion on earth incorporates singing and, you know, choirs and hymns, right? We call them hymns, which is hypnoticism, which could be a type of magic, really. I mean,
Yeah.
even the Queen of
Right.
England was a very high level witch or something. So I mean, it's in our world. It's very much in our world, but it's not obvious. It's not easy to find. But yes, the skull is a musical instrument, and every great cathedral is based upon the human skeleton. Every great
That's
cathedral,
so
the
interesting.
courtyard, the feet, the temple, the inner sanctum, I mean, you have pineal glands right on top of every gatehouse, right? I mean, you are
Yeah.
copying the human body because the human body is the ultimate key to understanding reality here. If you want to
Mhm.
know what our world looks like, look at the human eye. If you
Mm.
want to eat fruit that solves problems with your eyesight, you know you have to eat carrots. How do you know that? Because when you cut up the carrot, it's an iris. It's you've got everything there, all the information. You don't have to be a genius to walk around and find a piece of celery, and it's a human bone. It's identical to a human
Yes.
bone. So that's what you eat. That's what you get your magnesium from. It's scientifically proven. You can walk around an orchard, you will find on one side nettles, on the other side the solution to the nettle. If you read the
Mm.
Bible, it'll tell you, hey, the snake was in the Garden of Eden. Is it really a snake that was talking, or is it just medicinal advice? Is it just saying, this is the snake is on the tree. If the snake bites you, it's the Lamb of God that's going to help you. And if you look at anti-venom, where did that come from? They removed that chemical from the blood of a lamb. It's not, they got that information from the Bible. They created their own, pharmaceuticals. They used mold to create paracetamol. They, I mean, these people understand what the Bible's trying to say, and we are
Yeah.
looking at it in just one dimension. I think this higher consciousness is everyone should have this. You were given the most powerful computer on earth. You were given a human brain. You already have it all, and if your
Yeah.
brain is hurting, you eat walnuts. Why? Because it looks like a brain. This is all created. This is all the Fibonacci sequence, which is one of my favorite topics.
Yes.
Yeah. So you see God's signature in nature, and if you don't eat natural things, you're gonna harm your body. So I mean, even the idea of giving children candy with God knows how many E numbers, however many chemicals, because you don't know how to kill people. So what do? You give them everything you can to destroy them. Like, this is evil. Everything's evil if you think about it. Even placing candy really low down in front of the where when the parents did their shopping, you get all the chocolate, all the candy on the floor where the children can see it next to the till, right? This is a really evil world that we just don't see. If we saw everything, I think it would freak us out if we really knew the purpose behind everything. If we could
Well, it
see
is
all this is in the Disney logos and the McDonald's
yeah.
logos, yeah.
It is freaking people out there because there is now all the truth is coming out, and
Yeah.
people just ultimately, yeah, we are angels. How can angels deal with the amount
Mm,
of evil that's going on in the world? And people
mm.
believe that they are evil, but actually we're not the evil ones. Um,
No. But
it's
if you trick somebody into thinking they're evil, it's much easier to control them, I think.
of course.
You know.
Yes. Yes, I know. I know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's very, very interesting conversation, isn't it? We